A wind rises over the Indian Ocean, warm, dry, and ancient, drifting toward a fragment of land that seems to have slipped through time. Socotra appears slowly through the haze, an island not born for this world, a forgotten shard of Gondwana lifted from the deep and set adrift in silence. As the sun lifts over its ragged limestone plateaus, the land glows crimson, gold and silver, revealing a wilderness so strange that even the imagination hesitates. Here, the familiar laws of nature feel rewritten. Here, Earth looks like it is remembering its earliest dreams. The first light touches the dragon blood trees, those impossible umbrellas of twisted wood and clustered leaves. Their shadows stretch long across the desert floor, like ancient sentinels greeting the dawn. Their branches rise upward, defying the wind, defying reason, forming canopies so perfect they look engineered by design rather than grown from soil. Their bark whispers of centuries, their scars reveal storms survived, and beneath their roots lies the secret that gives them their mythic name, a red resin, thick as sap, the color of darkened rubies. For millennia, people believed it was the blood of dragons that once roamed the island, but even knowing the science, it still feels alive, mystical, intentional, like something guarding the land. A thin mist clings to the highlands. It crawls slowly over the cliffs, hesitating like a visitor, unsure whether to enter this world of strange geometry. The limestone beneath is riddled with caverns, fissures, sinkholes, an entire underworld carved by ancient water that no longer flows. The air tastes of salt and desert heat. The silence feels complete. Socotra does not echo. It absorbs sound like the land prefers to keep every secret whispered into it. Down the slopes, the terrain fractures into canyons edged by white stone polished by time. The sun pours into them like molten gold, illuminating a hidden forest of incense and myrrh. Their twisted limbs perfume the air with a scent so old it predates written language. These trees once fueled the rituals of empires, carried along desert caravans burned in temples and palaces, yet here, in these deep canyons, they still stand untouched, their resin glistening like tears, their roots clinging to cliffs that plunge like broken bones into the earth. A lone gecko, green as emerald dust, darts across the cracked limestone. Its eyes shine with a golden ring, a small, perfect crown found nowhere else. Over 90% of the reptiles here exist only on this island, survivors of isolation, shaped by an environment that rewards adaptation and punishes hesitation. In this realm, lizards become jewels, plants become monuments, and landscapes break free from the expected. The wind shifts. It carries the distant sound of wings, broad, steady, patient. A Socotra goshawk glides overhead, tracing invisible lines through the air. It is a creature sculpted for the harshness below, a predator that learned long ago that survival on this island demands not speed, but certainty. It circles the dragon blood trees once, twice, then disappears over the ridge, leaving behind the brief tremble of disturbed silence. Beyond the highlands, the land collapses suddenly into a desert as pale as bone. Sand dunes rise and fall like frozen waves. They move slowly with the wind, an island within an island, always shifting, always rewriting itself. Beneath the sand, pale roots reach for moisture in a land that offers almost none. The temperature climbs, shimmering in the heat, like a mirage that refuses to fade. Here grows the desert rose, an impossible plant swollen like a sculpture of stone, its trunk thick, bulbous, almost grotesque in shape. But atop that swollen base erupt bursts of pink blossoms, delicate as breath. It is the paradox of Socotra embodied, harshness and beauty intertwined, survival and elegance inseparable. The desert rose thrives by becoming its own reservoir, a living water vault in a place that tests every drop. Farther down, the dunes meet jagged limestone bluffs where the sea crashes in rhythmic pulses. The water here is impossibly blue, the kind of blue that feels exaggerated, as if nature pushed saturation to its limits. Every wave carries the scent of ancient coral reefs, rising from the deep, remnants of a prehistoric ocean, sculpting the present shoreline. The cliffs rise above the tide like the ribcage of a vanished colossus. The ocean hammers them endlessly, yet the stone seems unbothered. These walls have endured millions of years and will endure millions more. Beneath the cliffs lie caves carved by the tides, cool, damp, echoing with the calls of unseen birds. Stalactites hang like frozen daggers. Pools shimmer with trapped tidewater. The light enters only in narrow beams, turning the dark water into glassy mirrors. Each step into these caves feels like crossing into another era, a place where time thickens and the boundaries between land and sea blur. As the sun climbs higher, the heat becomes a living thing. The air itself wavers, mirages rise off the plains. Along a rocky escarpment, the frankincense trees cling to life, their bark flaking like old parchment. Their resilience feels ancient, as if the island forged them to withstand everything. Their scent drifts upward, faint but unmistakable, a reminder that even the driest land can still breathe. A small shadow darts across the rocks. The Socotra starling lands briefly on a branch, its feathers iridescent in the sun. It lets out a low whistle, almost musical, almost conversational. This island has taught even its birds to be storytellers. In its song echo legends of storms, migration, and survival. Then just as quickly it flies away, following the invisible pathways that only birds and wind can see. The high plateaus rise again, vast, flat, and otherworldly. The ground is cracked into hexagonal patterns like ancient puzzles etched into the stone. The sun bakes the surface until it hardens like iron. Shadows of clouds drift slowly across, the only movement in a land that feels sculpted from stillness. A herd of Socotra goats moves across the plateau, navigating the cliffs with absolute certainty. Their horns curl like carved artifacts. Their hooves tap against the stone, creating the only steady rhythm in a world of silence. They forage on thorny shrubs that somehow grow where almost nothing else dares. These goats are descendants of a human story, brought here centuries ago, but generations of isolation have woven them into the island's mythic ecology. They too have become part of Socotra's strange equation. The sky darkens slightly as the afternoon grows older. Clouds begin to gather along the mountains, thin, delicate sheets drifting in from the sea. The monsoon winds shape Socotra's seasons, carving new paths of life and forcing even the hardiest species to adjust. Rain is rare, but when it comes, it transforms the island instantly. Seeds buried for years awaken, hillsides flash with color, water cascades through dry canyons in sudden torrents, filling pools that shimmer like liquid sapphire. Life on this island is built on anticipation, waiting for the brief moments when the sky remembers generosity. Far inland, a hidden valley opens wide, guarded by vertical cliffs. It feels like stepping into a sanctuary untouched by human time. A small river trickles through it, nurturing groves of palm-like trees whose silhouettes sway gently in the warm breeze. The air here feels softer, cooler, almost tender. Dragonflies hover. Frogs call from shaded pools. Everything moves slower, like a world exhaling. This valley holds some of the island's rarest plants, species that exist nowhere else, shaped by isolation into forms that seem to reject the concept of normality. Some twist upward like spirals, others spread horizontally across the ground. Some bloom only at night, some never bloom at all. It is a catalogue of nature's most experimental ideas, preserved because the island stands apart from the world's rush. As evening approaches, the cliffs glow orange, then red, then a deep violet that seems to stain the air itself. The shadows stretch long across the land. Wind returns, cooler now, brushing the dragonblood trees with a low hum. Their silhouettes form a skyline of icy geometry, like sculptures against the burning sky. They look ancient, wise, watchful, as if they've seen entire ages come and go and know that even this moment will pass like a drifting cloud. The night arrives suddenly. The stars explode across the sky, sharp, bright, infinite. There are few places left where the sky is this dark, where the cosmos feels this close. Each constellation shimmers like a map of forgotten worlds. The Milky Way pours overhead in a glowing river of stardust, reflecting faintly on the pale sands below. In the darkness, the island changes. Sounds that were silent by day awaken. A nocturnal gecko climbs the trunk of a dragonblood tree, its footsteps as soft as dust. A faint breeze moves through the canyons, carrying scents of resin, salt and warm stone. The world feels alive with whispers, as if the island reveals its true self only to those who stay beyond sunset. Somewhere above, on the plateau, a lone dragonblood tree stands separated from the rest. Its branches reach upward like a solemn prayer, illuminated by the moon. It looks both ancient and newborn, an elder, yet always rising. Its shadow stretches across the land in the shape of a question the world has not yet learned to answer. Socotra is a paradox. It is Earth, but not quite. Familiar, but unquestionably alien. A sanctuary of species untouched by modernity, shaped by wind, rock, and isolation. An island where survival becomes art, where evolution writes poetry, where landscapes feel like memories of a planet still forming. In its silence, Socotra reminds us that the world is older than we imagine, wilder than we believe, and more mysterious than we dare to admit. And as the moon lifts higher over this forgotten world, the island seems to whisper a final truth, carried softly on the night wind. Some places do not belong to the present. Some places belong only to themselves,